Hey guys, welcome back to Midweek Mustwatch. Now just before the video starts, there is about 55% of you guys that watch my videos and are not subscribed. So if you are watching these videos and would like to help me out, then please hit that subscribe button. It is completely free and you can always change your mind later. Animation has been one of the oldest art forms we've used with film, dating back to at least the 50s and 60s with classic Disney cartoons to the monumentous Pixar films that you see come out in theaters every single day. Now, animation has been an art form that I've loved and respected, and every time I see something that really hits that niche, I always want to try animating, but then I immediately give up because I realize I can't draw and head right back to writing scripts. For this midweek must watch, I decided to do two animated series that each only, have one season, and those are the shows Hilda and Midnight Gospel. Now, the best way I can describe this show is imagine if there was a podcast and then while listening to the podcast you did a strip of acid and then started seeing all the posters in your room start to change and talk to one another. That's basically how the show is. Now, the main character, Clancy, is a space cast interviewer, and basically what he does is he goes into these simulated worlds, finds some random creature, and he interviews it for his space cast or space podcast. It was also great if you are not a huge fan of podcasts but are a huge fan of trippy animation, because then you don't need to pay attention to the characters are saying, because there's always a separate B story happening in the background, and those are sometimes my favorite moments in the show. Now, if you're wondering why this show seems so stylistically similar to Adventure Time, that is because it is created by the same person, Pendleton Ward, who is probably one of the most expressive 2D animators I've seen on television. The thing I love about this show especially is that the character design is so poppy and so creative. Like, one of the characters that always comes to my mind is in the second episode, there's this deer dog thing. It looks like a dog, but it's only got the face of a dog with legs sticking out and then antlers. I'll show a picture here. And all the characters are designed like this, very popping, and they fit right in the worlds they're in. And I think that's so great because they're so different from one another, which a lot of adult animation seems to lack. And it all blends together into just, they're all background, not these are foreground, these are background, which I really appreciate. My favorite episode for this season 1 at least, and this entire series so far, has to be episode 2, Officers and Wolves. In this episode, Clancy is interviewing that deer dog I mentioned earlier, and while this is all happening, there is a revolution going on against these clown people. And these bug people are trying to take down the clown people government, and it all ends in this climactic moment where one of the clowns sing a Rusty Cage song, the Hearse song, which was really fun to hear because that was my grade 9 summer in a nutshell, and it's so glad that I can hear Rusty Cage, a really big influence of me in grade 9 at least, and hear him now. So that was really fun, but this episode is just great, and it has great characters, and the B story is one of the best in the entire series. So, for Midnight Gospel, I give it a 10 out of 10 Wednesdays. Hilda is one of the cutest and minimalistic, I'd say, animated shows it doesn't really try anything experimental, but it looks great, and it follows the story of Hilda, a little girl, an elf, and her friends, an elf, a raven, that's also a thunderbird, and a deer fox. I think the name says what it is itself. Now, this show came out about a year ago, and there is in the works for a season 2 coming fall 2020. So when that does happen, I will be covering that. But this isn't the first time I've heard about this franchise, or show at least, because it originally was a graphic novel series created by the same show who also created this show, Luke Pearson. First found this book in my local library as I was, wandering around, and I found it. It was this super tall book, probably about the length of what my arm was then. Love is the creature design as well. Probably one of my favorite designs is something called a woof, not entirely sure how you say it. But basically, imagine a giant fluff ball with a tail and then a wolf's face on it, like a wolf pup's face on it. And that's basically the design. And these things fly around, and you see them all the time in the world. And they're so cool, and they just look so soft, and you really want to hug them. And the backgrounds are also really great too, because they actually look lived in. I think the best example when it comes to majority of children's animation is the backgrounds look stale, and there's nothing happening. It's a flat image. And for these, they look lively, and I think that's really good to help build a world. My favorite episode for Hilda season 1, at least, because season 2 hasn't come out, is episode 11, House in the Woods. In this episode, Hilda and the Woodman get trapped in this mysterious house that won't let them leave and keeps spawning all these different items to keep them comfortable. This episode's great because you see Hilda freaking out while the Woodman really doesn't care and is super apathetic about the whole thing.
Love this one. I wonder if they have a guitar. Ah, there we go.
It is cozy here.
For Hilda, I also give it a 9 out of 10 Wednesdays. Both of these shows are really great and show how expressive animation still is. Even though corporate Disney seems to have taken over all studio animation, like movie animation, you're seeing a lot more artists come to television, and I think that's just what's happening anyways, because movies are on the decline and TV is on the rise. So there's eventually going to be this middle point, and we might have already hit this middle point where everything's perfect, and then it's just going to fall down for movies and keep going up for TV. But both of these shows are really great. Hilda's getting a season 2 in the fall of this year, so that will be really exciting, and I will share my thoughts on it. For Midnight Gospel, I really hope that they find a way to expand the story, even if it's a spin-off, because there's so many things they could do with that. But it has a really good ending either way, and it wraps up the story nicely, and you get to figure out more about Clancy, and that's always great to see in a show when it just can wrap up in one season. But I do hope that they can keep making it. Overall, both of these shows are some of my favorite animated shows I've seen in a while, and it's really great to see that the medium isn't dying out, it's only getting stronger. So I hope that more animated shows come onto Netflix, and I should review them. So that's it. Bye guys. Thank you for watching another one of these videos, Midweek Must Watch. Now, if you are new to the channel and you just found me, then it would be really helpful if you hit that big subscribe button down below, because that helps us small creators grow. And if you're not new, then please like and comment. I tend to read all the comments because there's not that many so far. So that's a challenge. Make it so I won't be able to read all the comments because there's so many of them. And I hope you guys are having a great day and a great week. It's been kind of weird. We thought we'd be out of this by now, but we're not. So just stay positive. We'll get through this. I know we will, because we're getting through it so far. So have a great week and stay safe, guys. Bye.